Hello, I'm Jim Tolles. I'm a spiritual teacher. I blog regularly at spiritualawakeningprocess.com, as many of you know, and I also have a YouTube channel where I post videos and do live streaming. I felt like talking a little bit about myself today just to help people get to know me. I don't know, I think I'm anything particularly extraordinary, and I like to kind of teach from that space to help people appreciate just how ordinary being a conscious person is. The spiritual awakening is an acknowledgement of what's real, not an addition of anything. It's not any particular blissful experience. My own particular spiritual awakening wasn't terribly blissful at the time. I've definitely had other blissful experiences come and go. But as with any experience, it'll normalize, it'll go away. I sometimes tell people that even if there's a deeper state of bliss that you do reside in, it's like moving to Tahiti after you've been living in some particularly cold and nasty climate. The initial difference is eye-opening, but the longer you live there, the more you normalize to it, the more it's just your state of being. So along with helping people through spiritual awakening, I help them move towards these spaces of normalization and stabilization, but that only arises through embracing the truth and embracing the pain that we may be holding inside us. And people hold on to a lot of pain. We're so good at masking it from ourselves, we don't even realize we do it. And that was the way it was for me. That for all sakes and purposes, in my mid-20s, I had a good job. I was liked by friends and coworkers, and things were going fine. I was making money, and I was on that sort of track where I could be making a lot of money and have all the things that society tells me I should have, but it didn't really click for me. I've always been a very spiritual person, and so when some inner gears kind of started moving in 2006, I followed them and I trusted them and I evolved with the path that arose in front of me. And so as I go, I have this awakening in August 2007, and then the inner gears really go, and they really start to show me what's real. And while the awakening was just kind of a general loss of desire, a quieting in my own mind, there are plenty of other times where the mind comes back and desire comes back and all these old issues come back, and it's really after those initial moments that our work comes. And it comes to us loud and clear, and partially it's coming from that perspective that once you know what it's like to be on this beautiful tropical island inside of you, you wonder why you've left it for the swamp. So I help people see those attachments and why they're attached to the swamp, just as I learned to see how I was attached to the swamp. And I do feel very fortunate that there was such intensity inside me that it kept forcing me to deal with it. It didn't let me kind of get up off the floor some days, and that was really hard and humbling. And there's a lot of humility, I think, that anybody who truly embraces the spiritual path must really embrace in themselves. So from about 2007 to say, I usually say around 2014, that's when I feel like everything finally kind of stopped shifting so much inside. And then 2014, 2015 was kind of like cooling down the fires for me. And now at this point, as I'm recording this video, I feel very stable in myself, but there's still flow. So as I flow, I continue to kind of grow in my human sense, because the human sense is always evolving and changing. Sometimes I think people think there's this end point that we need to get to, but that's not been my experience, and it's not my intuitive awareness. In general, I've always relied on my intuition, and that's another aspect that's pretty prominent in my work, that I encourage people to trust their own intuitive knowing, because that's your greatest teacher. That's the space inside you where you and the divine merge together. It's a space of oneness. And from that oneness, certain things just seem to arise into duality, into that space of being a human. And these knowings, these things that we can't explain, that we have no other reason to understand. And that's really a big part of how I teach, that I'm always practicing being with somebody, and just the knowing comes up on its own. It really has nothing to do with something that I intellectually plan to do or necessarily even understand. I've learned sometimes the strangest things that I have to say are often the most important. So I'm a growing, changing human being. I don't offer myself as an endpoint, and I don't see an endpoint for myself other than the fact that the present moment is always the ends. It's the beginning, middle, and end. And from that space, we grow and change. And I'm growing and changing. And I hope I can help support you as you grow and change through your process. So if you feel like reaching out to me, feel free to do so. I offer one-on-one Skype sessions. You can also join me for free live streams. And please sign up for the MailChimp newsletter that I have, or that's the service that I'm using right now, and anything else that you feel called to do, or check out my ebook. So that's a little bit about me. I hope you are well, and take care.